Dr. Elena Rodriguez walked into the biggest science meeting in the galaxy. The huge building on Zerion Prime stretched up into the purple sky like a crystal mountain. She felt very small next to all the alien scientists around her. The conference hall was enormous. Thousands of beings from different worlds sat in floating chairs that moved up and down like a strange orchestra. Elena saw the Vorthak delegates first. They looked like walking diamonds, their crystal bodies catching the light and throwing rainbows across the walls. Their leader, Grand Forge Master Thecamore, stood 12 feet tall and sparkled like a star. Near the front sat the Nebulon Collective. They were not solid at all. Instead, they looked like colored clouds with tiny lights dancing inside them. Each one was a group mind made of gas and energy. When they talked, their voices sounded like wind through trees. The Ferox Empire had sent their best metal workers. These beings were made of living metal that could change shape. Iron Singh's wisdom sat with his arms crossed. His silver skin moved like water when he breathed. The metal people were famous for building the strongest ships in the galaxy. Elena found her seat between a purple plant person from Verdania and something that looked like a floating jellyfish. She opened her tablet and checked her notes one more time. As the only human at this meeting, she felt everyone watching her. The lights dimmed and Grand Forge Master Thecamore walked to the stage. His crystal feet made musical sounds on the floor. When he spoke, his voice was like bells ringing. "Friends from across the galaxy," he began. "Today we talk about the greatest challenge in material science. For 10,000 years, every civilization has tried to solve the same problem. How do we contain plasma?" The crowd listened carefully. Elena knew why this was so important. Plasma was the fourth state of matter. It was hotter than fire, more dangerous than lightning. Every star was made of plasma. It could cut through any metal and burn through any shield. "Plasma is pure energy," Thecamore continued. "It destroys everything it touches. We have tried every material known to science. We have built magnetic cages stronger than planet cores. We have created force fields that could stop a moon. But plasma always breaks free." Elena watched as the Forge Master showed pictures of failed experiments. Massive machines that had melted. Entire research stations that had been destroyed. The Vorthak had spent centuries trying to build perfect plasma containers. They all failed. The Ferox Empire tried to build plasma forges using their strongest metals, Thecamore said. Iron Singh's wisdom nodded sadly. His people had lost many good engineers to plasma accidents. The Nebulon Collective tried to contain plasma using pure energy fields. One of the gas clouds shimmered with embarrassment. Even beings made of energy could not hold plasma for long. And the great Zelanti tried to use their mind powers to control plasma directly. Everyone looked at the empty seats where the Zelanti should have been sitting. That experiment had not gone well. Thecmore's crystal body grew brighter as he reached his main point. "This is the truth we must accept," he said. "No material in the galaxy can truly contain plasma. It is impossible. Plasma is entropy itself. It is chaos given form. Any attempt to cage it will always fail." The audience murmured agreement. This had been proven fact for thousands of years. Every textbook said the same thing. Plasma could not be contained. "This limitation defines our technology," the Forge Master continued. "We cannot build the engines we dream of. We cannot create the tools we need. The galaxy has reached its ceiling because of this one simple fact. Plasma cannot be held." Elena raised her hand. The giant crystal being looked down at her. "Yes, young human." Elena stood up. She was much smaller than everyone else in the room. Her voice shook a little as she spoke. "What about magnetic containment fields powered by superconducting ceramics?" Some of the aliens laughed. The sound was strange. Crystal beings made tinkling noises. The gas clouds whistled. The metal people clanged softly. Thecamore's voice was kind but firm. "Child, we have tried every possible method. The Quantum Lords of Altair built magnetic fields that could bend space itself. Plasma ate through them in seconds. The cosmic engineers of the Void Ring created containment systems using dark matter. Plasma found a way out." Elena felt her face getting red. Everyone was looking at her like she was a foolish child. But she had to ask the question that was burning in her mind. "Have you tried just not containing it forever?" she asked. The laughter stopped. Thecamore tilted his crystal head. "I do not understand your meaning." Elena took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything. "You're all trying to cage plasma like it's a wild animal. But what if you just need to hold it long enough to use it? The Forge Master's crystal body flickered with confusion. That makes no sense. Plasma destroys everything. If you cannot contain it perfectly, it will escape and cause destruction. Elena smiled. She thought about her grandmother's kitchen back on Earth. She remembered the smell of cooking meat and the sound of sizzling fat. That's funny, she said. Her voice carried across the silent hall. Because that's how we cook steak. The entire conference hall went completely quiet. 5,000 alien scientists stared at the small human woman. Elena could hear her own heart beating. Thekmore's voice was very careful. You use plasma to prepare food? All the time, Elena said. We've been doing it for hundreds of years. Every human home has plasma tools. We use them for cooking, welding, cutting metal, making art. My dad has a plasma cutter in his garage that he uses to fix old cars. The crystal being stepped closer to the edge of the stage. This is impossible. Show us your massive containment facilities. Where are your magnetic field generators? Your exotic matter chambers? Elena reached into her bag and pulled out something that looked like a metal pen. This is the containment facility. She held up her plasma lighter. It was smaller than her hand. She had bought it at a gas station for $5. Tomorrow, she said, I'll show you how it works. The meeting ended early. Alien scientists rushed to their ships to send messages home. Emergency sessions were called. Research teams were awakened on distant worlds. Elena walked back to her hotel room. She could hear aliens talking excitedly in the hallways. Some sounded scared. Others sounded amazed. All of them sounded very confused. She sat on her bed and looked at her plasma lighter. Such a simple thing. She had never thought about it before. On Earth, every garage had a plasma cutter. Every kitchen had plasma torches for cooking. Every factory used plasma welders. Elena realized that humans had been living with contained plasma for so long that they forgot it was supposed to be impossible. She fell asleep holding the lighter. Tomorrow she would change the galaxy forever. But tonight she just missed her grandmother's cooking. Elena woke up to find 50 messages on her tablet. Scientists from across the galaxy wanted to know about human plasma technology. Some messages were polite. Others demanded immediate proof. A few sounded angry, like she was playing a joke on them. The biggest message came from Grand Forge Master Thekmore himself. He had arranged an emergency session for that morning. Elena would have 1 hour to prove that humans could really contain plasma. Elena packed her demonstration kit. Everything fit in a small suitcase. She smiled, thinking about how the aliens expected huge machines and massive power sources. Instead, she had tools that any human could buy at a hardware store. The demonstration hall was much smaller than yesterday's conference room. Only the most important scientists were allowed inside. Elena counted about 200 beings. Security guards stood at every door. They looked nervous. Elena walked to the center of the room. A large table had been set up for her. Power outlets were available, though she doubted the aliens understood why she needed them. Distinguished colleagues, she began. Yesterday I told you that humans use plasma to cook food. Today I will show you how. She opened her suitcase. Inside were several tools that looked very ordinary to her. A plasma cutting torch, a plasma welding pen, a small plasma cooker that her mother used for making barbecue. All of them were standard human equipment. Thekmore stepped forward. His crystal body was brighter than yesterday, which Elena had learned meant he was excited or worried. Show us your containment systems, Dr. Rodriguez. Where are the magnetic field generators? Elena picked up the plasma cutter. It was about the size of a large flashlight. This is the containment system. The alien scientists moved backward. Their instruments started beeping warnings. The Nebulon Collective swirled faster, which was how they showed fear. That device is far too small, said Iron Singh's wisdom. The metal being's voice sounded like grinding gears. Our smallest plasma containment facility weighs 50 tons and requires a fusion reactor to power it. Elena found a regular wall outlet and plugged in her plasma cutter. This runs on standard electrical power, the same current that lights the room. She flipped the power switch. A small green light came on. The aliens' instruments went crazy with alarm sounds. Please step back, Elena said calmly. Though this is very safe when used properly. She pulled the trigger. A brilliant blue-white flame shot out of the nozzle. The plasma reached 20,000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to cut through steel like butter. The alien observers scrambled backward. Some hid behind tables, but Elena just stood there, holding the plasma torch like it was a garden hose. The flame danced at the tip, controlled and steady. "This is impossible," shouted Dr. Clickstar, a purple insect being from the hive worlds. "Uncontained plasma should be destroying everything." Elena adjusted a dial on the torch. The flame got smaller and hotter. "It's not uncontained. It's just not contained the way you think." She reached into her kit and pulled out a piece of raw steak. The meat was red and fresh, vacuum-packed for the trip. Elena held it with metal tongs and moved it close to the plasma flame. The steak began to sizzle immediately. The plasma flame seared the outside, creating perfect grill marks. The smell of cooking meat filled the room. Many aliens had never smelled cooked food before. Some found it interesting, others looked sick. "The secret," Elena explained while cooking, "is not trying to contain plasma forever. We contain it just long enough to be useful." She turned off the torch. The plasma flame disappeared instantly. Elena set down the perfectly cooked steak and picked up a different tool. "This is a plasma welding pen," she said. "We use it to join metals together." She took 2 pieces of steel and held them together. When she activated the welder, a smaller plasma arc jumped between the metal pieces. In seconds, they were permanently joined. Whisper of equations, the Nebulon representative swirled closer. "How do you control the plasma? What keeps it from escaping and destroying your equipment?" Elena smiled. "Gas flow, magnetic nozzles, and electrical current control. We don't trap the plasma in a box. We guide it where we want it to go, like water through a pipe." She showed them the inside of the plasma torch. The aliens gathered around, their instruments scanning every part. They saw magnetic coils that directed the plasma flow, gas chambers that provided the material for the plasma, electrical systems that controlled the arc. "Your approach is completely different from ours," said Thekmor. His crystal voice sounded amazed. "We tried to build perfect cages. You built perfect channels," Elena nodded. "Humans learned early that some things can't be caged. Fire, water, wind, plasma. You don't fight them, you work with them." She pulled out her third tool. It was her grandmother's old plasma cooking torch. The metal was worn from years of use. Elena's family had been using it for Sunday dinners since she was a child. "This torch is 40 years old," she said. "My grandmother used it to cook for our whole family. It's never had a single containment failure." The alien scientists looked confused. Their plasma experiments always ended in explosions or equipment melting. But this human device had worked safely for decades. Elena lit the cooking torch. The flame was gentler than the cutting torch, designed for food instead of metal. She took out vegetables and began preparing a meal right there on the demonstration table. "Humans use plasma tools every day," she explained while cooking. "Dentists use plasma to clean teeth. Artists use it to make sculptures. Farmers use it to clear fields. Children learn plasma safety in school." Iron Singh's wisdom extended a metal finger toward the flame. Helena quickly moved the torch away. "Careful," she said. "It's still 20,000 degrees. We respect plasma. We just don't fear it." The metal being pulled his finger back. "Your species treats this deadly force like a common tool." "Because to us it is a common tool," Elena said. "Every human civilization discovered plasma independently. We had to learn to use it safely, or we would have all died out." She finished cooking the vegetables and turned off the torch. The demonstration table now held a complete meal, all prepared with plasma tools. "The key is understanding plasma's nature," Elena continued. "It wants to expand and cool down. We let it do that in controlled ways. We use its energy while it's hot, then let it dissipate safely." Thekmor approached the table. His crystal body was very bright now. "Dr. Rodriguez, your species has solved the greatest challenge in galactic science. And you use this solution to prepare food." Elena packed up her tools. Everything fit back in the small suitcase. "We also use it for industry, art, medicine, and research." But yes, cooking was probably the first use. Humans have always been practical about dangerous things. The alien scientists stood in stunned silence. Everything they believed about plasma containment was wrong. The impossible had just been demonstrated with tools that cost less than their morning coffee. Elena looked around the room. "Any questions?" 300 hands, claws, tentacles, and energy fields shot up at once. 3 days later, Elena found herself in the most secure laboratory on Zerion Prime. The galaxy's top scientists had gathered to learn exactly how human plasma technology worked. Security was tight because several governments wanted to keep this knowledge secret. The lab was huge and white, with equipment Elena had never seen before. Machines that could scan atoms floated next to devices that bent space itself. The aliens had brought their most advanced tools to study her simple human equipment. Elena set up her demonstration area in the center of the lab. She had brought more tools this time. Plasma welders, cutters, etchers, and even a small plasma television that her father had given her as a joke gift. Grand Forge Master Thekmor stood nearby with a dozen other important scientists. There was Iron Singh's wisdom from the Ferox Empire. Whisper of Equations represented the Nebulon Collective. Dr. Synthesis came from the machine worlds where robots built robots. Even the mysterious energy lords had sent an observer who looked like a ball of light. Dr. Rodriguez, said Thekmor, we have analyzed your demonstration from yesterday. Our best minds cannot understand how you achieve plasma containment with such simple methods. Elena smiled and picked up her plasma welder. That's because you're thinking about containment wrong. Let me show you the difference. She connected the welder to a power source and opened the gas valve. First, we create the plasma. We use an electrical arc to ionize gas just like you do. The aliens watched as Elena triggered the arc. Plasma formed at the tip of the torch, glowing bright blue-white. Now, Elena continued, you would try to trap this plasma in a magnetic cage or energy field. You want to hold it in one place forever. Whisper of Equations swirled forward. The gas being's voice was like wind through leaves. Yes, that is the only logical approach. Plasma must be contained or it will escape and cause destruction. Elena shook her head. But we don't contain it forever. We contain it just long enough to do useful work. Then we let it dissipate safely. She pointed to the nozzle of her torch. See this magnetic coil? It doesn't trap the plasma. It guides the plasma flow like a river channel guides water. Dr. Synthesis extended multiple scanner arms. The robot scientist's optical sensors focused on the torch nozzle. The magnetic field is very weak. Our containment fields are thousands of times stronger. Exactly, Elena said. You use brute force. We use finesse. Your strong fields fight against plasma's natural behavior. Our weak fields work with plasma's natural behavior. She demonstrated by adjusting the gas flow and electrical current. The plasma flame changed size and temperature, but it never escaped the magnetic channel. Plasma wants to expand and cool down, Elena explained. We let it do that in controlled directions. The plasma flows through our tools and disperses safely on the other side. Iron Singh's wisdom stepped closer. His metal body reflected the plasma's light. Your approach is elegant in its brutality. We sought to build cages for the fire. You learned to dance with it, Elena nodded. That's a good way to put it. Humans have always danced with dangerous things. Fire, electricity, radiation, explosives. We don't see them as enemies to defeat. We see them as forces to understand and work with carefully. She picked up different tools and showed how each one used the same principles. The plasma cutter guided plasma through a narrow nozzle to cut metal. The welder used plasma to melt two pieces together. The etcher used controlled plasma to carve patterns. Each tool is designed for a specific job, Elena said. We don't try to build one perfect plasma container. We build many simple tools that work together. The Energy Lord Observer pulsed with different colors. When it spoke, its voice was like music. This explains much about human technology. Your species prefers many small solutions over one large solution. Right, Elena agreed. If one plasma torch breaks, we use another one. If one method doesn't work, we try a different approach. We build redundancy and flexibility into everything. She pulled out her plasma television and turned it on. The screen showed a cooking show from Earth. The aliens watched in amazement as a human chef used a plasma torch to caramelize sugar on top of a dessert. Your people broadcast entertainment about using plasma for food preparation, observed Dr. Synthesis. This technology is so common that it appears in recreational media, Elena laughed. Plasma cooking shows are very popular on Earth. Some chefs are famous for their plasma techniques. There are competitions where people try to cook the best meal using only plasma tools. The scientists looked at each other in disbelief. The most dangerous force in the galaxy was entertainment for humans. Whisper of Equations swirled thoughtfully. Dr. Rodriguez, how did your species learn to work with plasma so safely? This level of casual use suggests centuries of experience. Elena sat down on a lab stool. It started with fire. Humans learned to control fire over 1 million years ago. Fire taught us that dangerous things could also be useful things. We learned to respect fire but not fear it. She gestured to her tools. When we discovered electricity, we applied the same philosophy. Then radiation, then plasma. Each time we started with small, simple applications and worked our way up. But surely you had accidents, said Thekmore. Plasma injuries, equipment failures, disasters. Of course, Melina said. Lots of them. But we learned from each accident. We improved our safety systems. We trained people better. We made the tools more reliable. She picked up her grandmother's old cooking torch again. This torch has safety systems that prevent accidental ignition. It has gas flow regulators that stop dangerous buildups. It has thermal cutoffs that shut down if it overheats. All of these features were added because someone somewhere had an accident and we learned from it. Iron Singh's wisdom examined the torch with his scanners. The safety systems are integrated into the basic design. They are not additions, they are fundamental to how the device operates. Exactly, Elena said. We don't think of safety as something extra. Safety is part of making the tool work properly. Dr. Synthesis processed this information. Your species treats dangerous technology like a living thing that must be understood and respected, not like a problem to be solved with bigger machines. Elena nodded. Plasma is not our enemy. It's our partner. A dangerous partner that could kill us if we make mistakes, but a partner nonetheless. She stood up and began packing her tools. That's the real secret of human plasma technology. We don't try to master plasma. We try to cooperate with it. The alien scientists watched her pack the tools that had revolutionized their understanding of physics. Such simple devices, such profound implications. Dr. Rodriguez, said Thekmore, your species has changed our entire view of materials science. What you have shown us will transform our civilizations. Elena closed her tool case. Just remember the most important lesson. The same plasma that can build your cities can also burn them down. Respect it, understand it, but never take it for granted. She looked around at the assembled alien scientists, and maybe start with something simple, like cooking steak. 2 months after Elena's demonstration, the galaxy was going crazy for human plasma technology. Every day brought news of breakthroughs on different worlds. The Vorthak had built hybrid crystal plasma forges that could create materials they had only dreamed of. The Ferox Empire was welding metals that had never been joined before. Even the energy beings of the Luxari Collective were using plasma techniques to interface with solid matter. Elena sat in her new office on Zerion Prime, watching news reports from across the galaxy. Her desk was covered with requests for consultation, licensing agreements, and partnership offers. Every major corporation wanted human plasma experts. Her assistant, a friendly Verdanian plant person named Chlorophyll Dreams, brought her the morning reports. Dr. Rodriguez, the Quantum Industries Consortium has completed their first plasma forge using human techniques. They reduced their production time by 90%. Elena smiled and picked up another report. The Nebulan Collective had learned to use plasma to reshape gas clouds into useful structures. They were building space habitats made of crystallized atmosphere, but Elena was worried about something else. Every report mentioned the same thing. Everyone wanted to turn this technology into weapons first. Her tablet chimed with an incoming call. Admiral Void Walker of the Galactic Defense Fleet appeared on the screen. The alien looked like a walking shadow with glowing red eyes. Dr. Rodriguez, the Admiral said, we need to discuss plasma weaponization immediately. My engineers estimate that human plasma technology could increase our weapon power by a factor of 10. Elena had been expecting this call. Admiral, I'm not sure that's a good idea. Plasma weapons are extremely dangerous even to the people using them. But surely your military has plasma weapons, the Admiral insisted. Any species with this level of plasma control must have devastating war machines. Elena thought about Earth's military. We do have plasma weapons, Admiral, but we learned very early that they're as dangerous to us as they are to our enemies. She opened a historical file on her computer. Let me tell you about the first human plasma weapon tests. This was about 200 years ago during the corporate wars on Mars. The Admiral leaned forward, interested. The Olympus Corporation built a massive plasma cannon. Elena continued. It was supposed to destroy enemy bases from orbit. The weapon worked perfectly. It melted a mountain in one shot. Excellent. What happened next? Elena's expression grew serious. The plasma beam reflected off the Martian atmosphere and burned down half of New Shanghai. The weapon was so powerful that we couldn't control where the energy went after it hit the target. The Admiral's glowing eyes dimmed. I see collateral damage. Worse than that, Elena said. The plasma cannon overheated and exploded, taking out the entire Olympus fleet. We realize that plasma weapons are just as likely to kill the people using them. She showed him more historical examples. The Beijing incident where a plasma rifle malfunction had leveled 6 city blocks. The Luna base disaster, where a plasma defense system had turned on its own operators. Admiral, humans learned that plasma makes terrible weapons precisely because it's so good at everything else. It's too powerful to control safely in combat situations. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Dr. Rodriguez, what do humans use for military purposes if not plasma weapons? Elena smiled. Much more boring things. Kinetic projectiles, chemical explosives, directed energy beams, things that only do what we want them to do. After ending the call, Elena walked to her window. The view showed Zerion Prime's capital city spreading out below. Construction crews were using human plasma tools to build new structures. The skyline was changing daily as alien architects discovered what was possible with controlled plasma. But Elena had received similar calls from military leaders across the galaxy. Everyone wanted plasma superweapons. Nobody wanted to hear about the safety problems. Her door chimed and Grand Forge Master Thekmor entered. The crystal being looked worried, which Elena could tell because his light was flickering irregularly. Dr. Rodriguez, we have a problem, he said. The Korthani Empire has announced plans to build a plasma death ray. They claim it will be able to destroy entire star systems. Elena sat down heavily. Have they tested this weapon? They are building it now. Construction will be complete in 6 months. Thekmor's crystal body grew brighter with concern. Other empires are responding by starting their own plasma weapon programs. Elena rubbed her temples. She felt a headache coming on. This is exactly what I was afraid of. Can you help us understand the risks? Thekmor asked. Humans have more experience with plasma weapons than anyone. Elena opened her historical files again. Let me tell you about the Melbourne catastrophe. It was the worst plasma weapon accident in human history. She showed Thekmor footage from the incident. A human military base had been testing a new plasma artillery system. Everything looked normal until the weapon fired. The plasma beam worked perfectly, Elena explained. It destroyed the target completely. But then the beam continued traveling. It punched through the atmosphere, bounced off the moon, and came back to Earth. 3 hours later, it hit the city of Melbourne. Thekmor watched in horror as the historical footage showed a city of millions simply vanishing in a flash of light. The weapon had worked exactly as designed, Elena continued. The problem was that nobody had calculated where the plasma would go after hitting the target. Plasma doesn't just disappear. It keeps going until something stops it. How many died? Thekmor asked quietly. 8 million people, Elena said. The entire city and surrounding area were sterilized. It took 50 years for the radiation to clear enough for resettlement. She showed him more examples. The Europa Station incident, where a defensive plasma grid had reflected off ice and destroyed the base it was supposed to protect. The asteroid belt disaster, where mining plasma beams had triggered a chain reaction that shattered an entire asteroid field. Admiral Voidwalker asked me why humans don't use plasma weapons, Elena said. The answer is simple, we tried. They killed more of us than our enemies did. Thekmor processed this information. But surely there must be safe ways to weaponize plasma. Elena stood and walked to a cabinet. She pulled out a device that looked like a plasma torch but was painted black and red. Warning labels covered every surface. This is a human plasma rifle, she said. Military grade, designed for close combat. It has 17 different safety systems and requires 6 months of training to use safely. She handed it to Thekmor, who examined it carefully. It's much smaller than I expected. That's the point, Elena said. We learned that smaller plasma weapons are safer than big ones. This rifle can cut through any armor, but it only works at short range. The plasma beam dissipates after 20 meters. She showed him the safety features. Emergency shutoffs, thermal regulators, magnetic containment backups, and automatic targeting limits. Even with all these safeguards, this weapon has a failure rate of 1%, Elena said. For every 100 shots fired, 1 will malfunction and potentially kill the user. Thekmor handed the rifle back carefully. Your military accepts these risks. Only in the most desperate situations, Elena said. Most human soldiers prefer weapons that don't try to kill them. She sat back down at her desk. That's the thing about humans and plasma, Thekmor. We learned very early that the same tool that cooks your dinner can burn down your house. The question isn't whether you can make a weapon. The question is whether you should. Decamore's crystal body flickered thoughtfully. What do you recommend we do about the Korthani Empire's weapon project? Elena looked out the window again. Construction crews were still working with their plasma tools, building a better future. But somewhere in the galaxy, other people were building death machines with the same technology. We need to organize a conference, she said. Every species that's working with plasma technology, we need to share the safety lessons that humans learned the hard way. You want to teach weapon safety? Elena nodded. Before someone accidentally destroys their own star system. 1 year later, Elena stood in the same amphitheater where she had first challenged the galaxy's understanding of plasma. But everything was different now. The seats were filled with engineers wearing hard hats instead of academic robes. Construction crews took breaks from building projects to attend safety seminars. The air hummed with the sound of plasma tools working throughout the city. The first Galactic Plasma Safety Conference had drawn representatives from every major civilization. They came not to debate theory, but to learn how to use their new tools without killing themselves. Elena walked to the podium carrying a simple briefcase. Inside were the same basic tools she had demonstrated a year ago. But now those tools had changed the galaxy. Friends, she began. 1 year ago I told you that humans cook steaks with plasma. Today I want to talk about what we've learned together since then. The audience was different from her first presentation. Half the beings in the room were wearing safety gear. Hard hats, protective goggles, and heat-resistant clothing had become fashionable across dozens of worlds. Let me start with some good news, Elena said. The Vorthak crystal forges are producing materials that were thought impossible. The Ferox shipyards are building vessels stronger than anything in the galaxy. The Nebulon Collective has created the first solid structures made entirely of crystallized gas. The audience applauded with various sounds. Crystal beings chimed, metal people clanged, and gas clouds whistled approval. But we've also learned some hard lessons, Elena continued. 3 months ago, the Rigel 7 mining operation had an accident when their plasma cutter overheated. Nobody was hurt, but it melted through 50 meters of rock. She showed pictures of the incident. The plasma beam had carved a perfectly round tunnel through solid granite before safety systems finally shut it down. The miners followed all safety protocols, Elena explained. They just didn't know that their local granite contained metals that reflect plasma. This is why we test everything first. Iron Singh's wisdom raised a metal hand. Dr. Rodriguez, my people have had similar learning experiences. Last month, one of our shipbuilders tried to weld 2 different alloys together. The plasma reaction created a new metal that we didn't expect. Elena nodded. Was anyone hurt? No, but the new metal turned out to be incredibly valuable. We accidentally discovered how to make perfect superconductors. The metal being's voice sounded amused. Sometimes our mistakes teach us more than our successes. Elena smiled. That's very human thinking. We've always learned more from our failures than our triumphs. She opened her briefcase and pulled out a new device. It looked like her old plasma torch, but it was covered in sensors and warning lights. This is the latest human plasma safety system, she said. It monitors temperature, gas flow, magnetic fields, and surrounding materials. If anything goes wrong, it shuts down automatically. She demonstrated the safety features. The torch scanned its environment before igniting. It detected the materials around it and adjusted its power accordingly. If it sensed danger, warning lights flashed and audio alarms sounded. We developed this after the Korthani Empire's weapons test went wrong, Elena said. The audience went quiet. Everyone had heard about the Korthani incident. 6 months ago, the Korthani tested their plasma death ray, Elena continued. They wanted to destroy an abandoned asteroid. Instead, they accidentally triggered a fusion reaction that turned the asteroid into a small star. Admiral Voidwalker stood up in the audience. The new star is still burning. Our scientists estimate it will continue for another 1,000 years. Elena nodded grimly. The Korthani discovered that plasma weapons work too well. Their death ray didn't just destroy the target. It created a permanent energy source that they can't turn off. She showed images of the new star. It was beautiful but dangerous, radiating energy that made nearby space travel impossible. This is why humans stopped building big plasma weapons, Elena said. When they work too well. When they fail catastrophically. Dr. Synthesis, the robot scientist, projected a holographic display. Dr. Rodriguez, we have documented 47 plasma accidents across the galaxy in the past year. Most were minor, but several caused significant damage. And that's exactly what we expected, Elena said. Every human civilization went through the same learning curve. We had accidents, learned from them, and built better safety systems. She pulled out a thick manual and set it on the podium. This is the Human Plasma Safety Handbook. It documents every major plasma accident in human history, what went wrong, and how to prevent it from happening again. Whisper of equations swirled forward. Dr. Rodriguez, this handbook contains the failures of your species. Why share such embarrassing information? Elena laughed. Because embarrassing failures are the best teachers. If you can learn from our mistakes, you won't have to make them yourselves. She opened the manual to a random page. Here's the entry for the Chicago pizza incident. A restaurant owner tried to use a military-grade plasma torch to cook pizza. He burned down 3 city blocks. The audience made various sounds of amusement and concern. The lesson, Elena continued, is that bigger is not always better. Sometimes a small controlled flame works better than a massive plasma torch. She closed the manual and looked around the amphitheater. This brings me to my main point today. Plasma technology isn't just about the tools, it's about the attitude. Elena walked to the center of the stage. Humans learn to live with plasma by respecting it but not fearing it. We treat it like a powerful friend who could accidentally hurt us if we're careless. Grand Forge Master Thekmore stood up. His crystal body was very bright, which Elena now knew meant he was excited. Dr. Rodriguez, you have revolutionized our entire approach to dangerous technology. We no longer seek to master these forces. We seek to cooperate with them, Elena smiled. That's the real secret. Don't try to conquer plasma. Make friends with it. She walked back to the podium and picked up her grandmother's old cooking torch. The metal was even more worn now from constant use at demonstrations. This torch is 50 years old, she said. 5 decades of safe operation. It's cooked thousands of meals, taught hundreds of people about plasma safety, and never had a single accident. She lit the torch. The gentle blue flame danced at the tip, perfectly controlled. The key is starting small, Elena said. Learn to cook a steak before you try to build a star. Master the basics before you attempt the impossible. She turned off the torch and packed it away. In the past year, human engineers have worked with alien scientists throughout the galaxy. We've learned as much from you as you've learned from us. Elena gestured to the audience. The Vorthak taught us how to integrate plasma with crystalline structures. The Ferox showed us new ways to weld exotic metals. The Nebulon Collective helped us understand how plasma behaves in zero gravity. The beings in the audience looked at each other with pride. They had all contributed to the advancement of plasma science. 6 months from now, Elena announced, the first joint human-alien research station will go online. It will be powered by a fusion reactor that combines human plasma dynamics with Vorthak crystal engineering and Ferox metallurgy. The audience erupted in cheers, chimes, whistles, and clangs. Elena waited for the noise to die down. The reactor doesn't perfectly contain its plasma. Instead, it dances with the plasma, channeling that chaotic energy into useful work. She looked around the amphitheater one more time. Just like we're all learning to dance with forces that used to seem impossible to control. Elena packed up her briefcase. Inside were the simple tools that had changed galactic civilization. As she walked off the stage, she could hear aliens discussing their next projects. Construction plans, safety protocols, and cooking techniques were all mixed together in excited conversations. Outside the amphitheater, Elena could see the new Zerion Prime skyline. Buildings rose into the purple sky, constructed with techniques that hadn't existed a year ago. Plasma torches sparkled like stars as construction crews worked on impossible projects. Elena pulled out her small plasma lighter, the same one she had carried to that first conference. She lit it briefly, watching the tiny flame dance in the alien breeze. Such a simple thing, such a powerful symbol. She put the lighter away and headed home. Tomorrow there would be new challenges, new projects, and probably new accidents to learn from. But tonight, she was going to cook dinner with her grandmother's old torch and remember how it all started. After all, someone had to keep cooking steaks while the galaxy learned to dream with fire.